Today I messed up by sleeping with my friend with benefits coworker. There's a lot to unpack here. I'll break it up the best I can. But also, I want to be upfront and say that I am, in fact, a piece of crap. I'm 42M, a stylist, hairdresser, in a popular city, and a little over a year ago, I started to become friends with one of my clients, 25F. When we met, she was still in a relationship with someone who she had been dating since the start of college. I believe they had been together about 6 years. Client and I hit it off, at least as friends during her first appointment with me. We slowly started to send messages on iGuess, send reels, etc. This started out innocent enough, for me at least. The focus of the messages started to shift after a while though. She would ask for input on her relationship with her long-term partner, and she had started to mention on multiple occasions that the relationship was coming to a close. And after months of this back and forth and multiple hair appointments, she informed me that her and the partner broke up. Because of logistics, they remained roommates, separate rooms, until the lease was up, I believe. Now that she was single, she was very interested in moving into a friend with benefits situation. We both agreed that since she was coming out of a long-term relationship that she shouldn't get involved with anyone right away and live her life. I said I could be her friend, and that as long as it didn't complicate things, we could sleep together also. We started sleeping together, and at first it wasn't great. She wanted to make a good first impression on me in the bedroom, and she just did too much and tried too hard. As far as in the bedroom goes, I'm a dominant leaning switch, and she just came in trying to be super dominant, and it just wasn't the vibe. I told myself I wasn't going to sleep with her again because I just didn't think we were compatible in that way. But I also have a low threshold for self-control, and I in fact did end up sleeping with her again. We ironed out the kinks, and the sex started to become enjoyable. And we also started to hang out more, a lot more, often daily. Things were going fine with our friendship until I went on a date with someone off one of the apps. This was stuff we usually talked about with each other, and it wasn't weird to tell her about my outings with other people I was casually seeing. But after that date, she shared with me that she may have caught some feels. This was something I was aware could have happened. She seemed more and more interested in hanging out week after week. Everything with the feeling situation came to a head when I threw a party and invited all my coworkers from the salon. She was super clingy on me during this party and made quite a few folks feel uncomfortable. She was giving off girlfriend vibes big time, even acting like she was in charge of things at the party. Also, PDA isn't a thing I tend to engage in unless I'm at a sex party, and she was hanging all over me, kept asking for kisses, and the ultimate flaw here was pretty much asking who every other girl at the party is right in front of them to me, which in fact made folks uncomfortable. Why, you ask? Because she could have just made conversation with these people like a normal human does at a party, and not talked about people like they weren't standing right in front of you. After the party, I had to have a talk with her, and I didn't hold back. I told her she made people feel uncomfortable. I told her to stop with the PDA, and I actually told her I needed a break. I asked for a week to myself. She could not give me that week. I caught her walking past my work and trying to look in the window, and there's a local bar I go to. She popped in on me multiple times during this week, sometimes more than once in the same evening. So I went no contact for a few days, and during all this time I'm telling my coworkers and friends about what is happening. This in turn makes most of them not like her, which some of them already didn't because of the party. After the no contact, though, I did miss talking to her. Fact of the matter is we talked daily up until that point, and even though the relationship wasn't serving me in any way, I did feel an absence in my life during that time. For the next 3 months we continued hanging out and sleeping together, but we weren't as close as we were before that timeout. We very much normalized the ability to say I don't want to hang out tonight without making the other feel bad. We have now committed to convenience, and it became somewhat normal for us to have plans to hang after work, but then often cancel or just meet up for a quickie and then go out separate ways for the night. So to recap, we're still hanging, but we are just way more communicative, and it's now easier to tell each other to fudge off when we're not feeling it. She was very fond of my performance in the bedroom, and she would tell me how she would brag to her coworker, 28NB, about it. Obviously, this made me feel great, and it didn't hurt that the coworker was attractive. I should also note here that the client was bisexual. She has a big crush on her coworker that she's been bragging about me to. The client had a work event, and the coworker was going to be there. Client asks me to come so I can meet coworker. I agree. I show up, and after some greetings, coworker and I start chatting, mainly about hair at first, but then pivoting to more risky topics. Also, there was some heavy drinking already going on this night by all parties involved. Nothing happens on this night beside for the initial meeting and more drinks. Client and I go home together later that night, and all is well. Last week, Coworker books an appointment with me at my salon. They come in, get great hair services, and even better conversation. I ask Coworker if they want to go to a bar after and talk more. I also knew that client was aware of this appointment, and I felt obligated to invite client to come to bar with us. We all meet at the bar by my work, and everything is great. Coworker even tells client that they have the hots for me, which in turn client tells me. In my head, I know client has crush on Coworker, and the thought of all of us going back to my place becomes very tangible. When client goes to the bathroom, Coworker tells me that they will come home with me, but client can't come. They don't want to make things at work weird by sleeping with client and me. I agree to keep it secret. When client comes back from bathroom, I tell her I'm going home, and client for sure wanted to come and I told her no. We all leave and go our separate ways, at least temporarily. Coworker comes over, we fudge. I enjoyed it, and we agree that we should do this again. And 2 nights later, we did. Except this time I was drunk and very tired. I passed out on them, in the middle of the act no less. I remember waking up in the morning and just feeling like I couldn't even remember what happened. And to the best of my knowledge, besides being a little embarrassed, nothing dramatic happened. Since I wanted to make up for my lackluster performance, I offered to take them out to dinner. We didn't pick a day, but agreed we would meet up. The first night they asked to go out to eat and I'm like, sure, when? They inform me now and I can't because I'm working. The very next night, I'm supposed to hang with client, and we discussed it multiple points over the day. She was cool about me saying I needed to stop at the bar to see one of my friends. Client was being cool and chill, and I believe genuinely happy to see me. As of now, I don't think client knows I slept with Coworker. I finally leave the bar, order some tacos, and ride my bike to get them. While I'm waiting for my order, Coworker texts me and says they are bored and at another bar down the street. This is where things go sideways. I was drinking for the last 3 hours, and I was definitely on my way to client's house. But for some reason, when I got that text, I felt a strong desire to go see what's up with Coworker. But Coworker is there with their other team members from work. Other team members from their work know that I am friend with benefits with client, and after I walk into the bar, I'm not even there 5 minutes before I start to get messages from client. I'm gonna kill you. You're embarrassing me. I'm done with you. Be gone. Go home, you're drunk. After the messages roll and I promptly exit and head home. I don't even think I spent a total of 10 minutes at the other bar with Coworker. The vibe felt off, and everyone looked at me like, WDF are you doing here? It's at this point that I realized that I was being tested, or at least I think I was. Spoiler alert, I failed. One reason I think this is because as soon as I walk in, someone busted me out. And also Coworker says to me, aren't you supposed to be at client's house? That's when it hit me like a brick to the head. The jig is up, and I messed up. Client hasn't talked to me since this happened, 3 days ago. I've received a couple messages saying that we need to talk and figure out logistics. I didn't answer, and then today I received 2 more messages. The first said I will be by tomorrow to talk and drop off your things, and then I was sent a YouTube link for the Avril Lavigne song Complicated. My friends are thrilled. They think this is the best news they've heard all year. I don't currently share these feelings. I need to quit drinking and get into therapy. I obviously have issues to address. Today I messed up by injuring my nipple at work. Using an alternative account because I don't really want this to come back to me. Also on mobile, so please bear with me if I misspell something or forget any capitalization. I included the not safe for work in case discussing nipples/areolas was considered that. I apologize in advance. Today while at work, I accidentally injured my right areola while stacking some totes at work. I was placing the totes on a larger stack and I guess I was too close to the edge of the totes and crushed my nipple, cutting a small part of my areola. Now I'm sitting at home icing my injury in shame. I can't tell any of my family or my partner because I'm so embarrassed, but I had to get this off my chest. Today I messed up by forgetting which song I was on my Spotify. My neighbor asked if I could give him a ride to the auto shop to pick up his car. He's a nice guy and we're generally pretty friendly, so I said yes. He asked if he could bring his kid, 6-ish-year-old girl. along because his wife wasn't home. Again, fine. Auto shop is like a 10-minute drive. We got in my car to go, and when I turned on my car, the Bluetooth auto connected to my phone and started playing the next song on the album I was listening to, which was the soundtrack for the musical Avenue short for QAnon. The song it started was "You Can Be As Loud As the Hell You Want." Immediate puppet sex the second I started my car. I was so panicked it took me way longer than it should have to turn the music off. The rest of the album is not any more kid-friendly. After I got it off, my neighbor just kind of stared at me like, what the fudge was that? And I kind of mumbled it's a musical with puppets. He just stared forward and I started backing out of my spot and driving to the auto shop. Longest 10 minutes ever. Today I messed up by accidentally stringing a girl along and getting called out for it. Using my alt account for this one. I, 30M, am socially awkward loner that started using dating apps a while ago. I went in having heard horror stories about men not getting matches, so that was the mindset I had. If I got matches, then great. I'd do my best to date them if I thought we were a good fit. But I wasn't expecting much of anything, and that mindset turned out to bite me later. I've gotten a handful of matches over time, but most conversations just died after a few messages. At the time, I just always attributed it to women having enough options that I just wasn't interesting. Then came the match I really screwed up on. I matched with a girl in May and we started talking. When talking with someone, I generally start with small talk and then escalate to being more flirty if they're interesting. That's what I did here, but this girl took a long time to reply each time, average of 3 days. So it was slow going and I was getting more than a little annoyed after a month had passed and not much had happened. So I decided I was just going to ask her out to do something. I was expecting a yes or no, but instead she expressed confusion that I'd ask her. I just threw up my hands and moved on after that. At the time, I didn't think anything of it, but when I was talking to another guy later, he wanted to complain about his lack of success, and I stupidly didn't shut him down immediately. This story came up. I showed him the chat, and the dude basically called me an idiot because he pointed out that at the beginning she responded within a day, and only got less and less frequent after my fourth response when she'd responded with a location she liked to hike and I chose to follow up about a spot I liked. He said I should have followed up on her answer, then asked her out to that spot, especially since she'd flirted twice by that point and I'd ignored it. Since I didn't ask, she took it as a sign of little interest, which is why she was confused when I tried later. The real kicker was when he pointed out she could have ghosted or blocked me anytime, and the fact she didn't prove there was still some interest on her end. Then he called me in butthole for stringing her along for a month and said I did her a favor when I quit talking to her. I felt terrible after that, because what the dude said makes sense. I got so annoyed I never asked myself why she would still be talking to me after a month, when most people just immediately ghost if they don't click. It was never my intention to be in butthole, but what's done is done. I'm still matched with her and could technically send her an apology, but I doubt she'd take it as sincere at this point, so I don't think it would be worth it when I've already moved on.